Well, at the World Economic Forum in Davos, nuclear energy was in the spotlight as a viable alternative to other energy forms, including fossil fuels, of course. Our next guest says nuclear is part of the solution to meeting the world's global energy goals. Let's bring in Seth Grae. He's President and Chief Executive Officer of Lightbridge. It's a nuclear fuels technology company that trades on the NASDAQ Stock Exchange. Graham, thanks a lot Seth, thanks a lot for joining us. You were at the COP28 conference, and I believe you've been at Davos as well. How prominent is the subject of nuclear energy among business leaders attending these events?
Well, it's extraordinarily prominent given the opportunity coming out of COP28. I was at COP28. I've been part of the world economic community dealing with the energy transition, although I was not at Davos. And at COP28, there were a large number of countries, including the US and Canada, that pledged to triple nuclear power globally by 2050 in the next 26 years. And for the first time ever, nuclear was specifically cited in the final statement agreed to by all 198 countries at COP as a way to achieve the climate goals. And what's interesting is what was not in that final statement specifically mentioned, not hydroelectric, not carbon capture and sequestration. So this was a real landmark event for nuclear. And to triple nuclear by 2050 is just a momentous opportunity for the nuclear power industry. And we saw a lot of companies, including Lightbridge, signing contracts at COP to help bring this about, to lead to tripling nuclear by 2050. And these conversations have carried through to other events, including at Davos, where there have been several speakers talking about the opportunities in nuclear power for the energy transition coming out of COP28.
Tell us about some of the deals you signed, and remind viewers, we've spoken to you before, but remind our viewers exactly what your company does.
Well, at Lightbridge, we're developing advanced fuels for reactors, and we can retrofit these into the existing reactors to improve them tremendously. We'll be testing this fuel now at Idaho National Laboratory in the United States to show that the fuel can increase the power of the existing reactors, make them run longer between needing to refuel, increase the safety for newer small reactors, allow them to load follow, go up and down in power, combined with renewables on a zero carbon electric grid. So just tremendous unique advantages that the Lightbridge fuel can bring that we're developing in cooperation with the US Department of Energy support at Idaho National Lab and in some other locations. And we signed a contract with another American company called Centrus Energy, where we are doing a front-end engineering and design study in Ohio at the Department of Energy-owned site there that Centrus uses to enrich uranium to what's called high-assay low-enriched uranium, or HALEU levels, that the advanced nuclear technologies will need. And this front-end engineering and design study is leading toward us making a decision about a year from now on whether to go forward and deploy a pilot fuel fabrication facility there in Ohio at the site and use the uranium enrichment from Centrus in our nuclear fuel. We'll make commercial scale fuel in the pilot facility. We could later expand it or deploy another plant elsewhere and bring this technology to the world's reactors.
Hey, Seth, we've seen in 2022, Germany, for example, in Europe, be crippled by spikes in natural gas prices. And just so recently in Alberta, we had problems with the grid, of course, because we didn't have enough natural gas because of reduction of the amount of utilities. So where's the sense of urgency around the world to start building nuclear facilities? And are these realistic goals by 2050?
Yeah, I think they are. First of all, we're seeing the issues with extreme weather, with freezing wellheads, where places could have the natural gas, but for the inability to deliver it, and in many other places not wanting to buy the gas because they'd be buying it from Putin or someone else they don't want to buy it from and pay for. And what Germany is showing is you really can't get there from here on the energy transition with just renewables. And you don't want to rely on Putin for natural gas. In many places of the world, the weather isn't allowing that, or they don't have a lot of access to natural gas in some places. And that's why nuclear is emerging as such a solution. And we're seeing in Canada some strong movement toward new nuclear, including a small modular reactor at Ontario Power Generation that will be deployed. We have another new large reactor that will open in the United States in the next couple months. We've had, since COP28, just in the last month, probably a record number of new reactor announcements in the world as countries are trying to meet that tripling goal, including from the UK to France to Belarus, just a large number of new, very large reactors being announced to be built.
We're almost out of time, but my last question is, how do policymakers and how does the industry confront the continued very, very strong opposition to nuclear energy from environmental groups and leading climate change groups? How they get a lot of attention in the news media. A lot of people, I think, take their cue from the public statements of those groups. Those groups are dead set against nuclear power. How should governments respond?
Well, first of all, you have to follow sound science and sound engineering. And the new technologies like the Lightbridge fuel, the newer reactor designs with safe systems are part of the answer. Another is with sound regulation, with great independent nuclear regulators like Canada and the United States have independently looking over the operations. And we're seeing polling around the world showing that many people are becoming much more favorable to nuclear, especially younger people. And I think that's reflected again in 198 countries unanimously agreeing that nuclear is part of this solution at COP.
Seth Grae, thank you a great deal. He is Chief Executive Officer of Lightbridge, a U.S.-based nuclear fuel technology company.